as we launch it into space. Once we reach vacuum, we're going to separate the two halves of that nose cone of that fairing and have them come back to Earth because we don't need them anymore. Now the truss structure that you see on your screen there, that is referred to as our transporter erector. This is what we use not only to roll the rocket out of the hangar and to the pad and then to lift it up and support it in its vertical position, but is also what routes Falcon 9's fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems all the way to the vehicle itself, and does so until Falcon 9 goes on internal power and launches and clears the pad. At that point, the vehicle's internal flight computer and automation and radio frequency communication is what's going to take over. Now, following successful deployment of the TESS spacecraft, this is going to be the 52nd Falcon 9 launch, the 24th Falcon 9 landing if we're successful today, and SpaceX's 8th launch this year. 52nd Falcon 9 launch, the 24th Falcon 9 landing if we're successful today, and SpaceX's 8th launch this year.
So, hello everyone, I'm going to be live streaming, broadcasting the launch, and I'm probably gonna explain stuff while we wait and while
Operators began loading propellants on the Falcon 9 at T-minus 70 minutes. And Falcon 9 is powered by bipropellant engines. That is, they consume a fuel, which is RP1, and an oxidizer, which is liquid oxygen. Fuel is about 90% or so loaded on the rocket in on stage 1, and 75% loaded on stage 2. Oh, I'm sorry, actually RP1, the fuel is fully loaded on stage 1 and 2, and it's LOX that's about 90% loaded on stage 1 and 75% loaded on stage 2. Now, liquid oxygen is that super chilled oxidizer that we use inside of our ox tank. And coming up next, what we're going to hear on the call out is engine chill. This is where we flow a small amount of that liquid oxygen through to the engines in order to cool them down to their operating temperature, so that when we start feeding them their full flow of liquid oxygen in flight, that LOX stays nice and cold and doesn't heat up and start to boil off and cause bubbles and other performance issues on the engines. Listening in on the weather nets, it's sounding like we are looking good for an on-time launch today. I'm not hearing about any issues with upper-level clouds. Our ground-level winds are looking within limits, as are those upper-level winds, and we're within our lightning rules. Spacecraft is currently healthy, it's on internal power, and the range is currently go for an on-time launch today.
So, now that they finally stopped talking, I can explain a bit about what this mission is. So, this launch is a NASA mission. It's for searching exoplanets. And by the way, this is one of the smallest payloads the Falcon 9 has ever launched.
So today's mission is really, really cool. We're launching NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, or TESS. This is a mission that's operated by MIT, managed by NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and is the second launch that SpaceX has conducted for NASA's Launch Services Program. And at just 365 kilograms and just under 5 feet tall, TESS may be small, but it is doing big things. This Planet Hunter is an orbital observatory that will discover thousands of planets by monitoring over 200,000 stars in nearby planet systems, or star systems. Its science instrument is comprised of 4 high-tech, wide field of view cameras designed and manufactured by MIT's Lincoln Laboratory. These cameras will allow TESS to detect exoplanets, which are planets that are outside of our solar system. It does this by looking for a phenomenon known as a transit. This is where a planet passes in front of its host star, causing a periodic dip in that star's brightness. This allows scientists to assess the size, mass, atmospheric composition, and structure of those planets. And this is particularly exciting to astrophysicists and astrobiologists because some of those planets may fall into what is referred to as the habitable zone. That means it might have the right conditions to sustain liquid water and potentially support life. Falcon 9 will be injecting TESS into an elliptical high Earth orbit that at its highest point reaches 273,000 kilometers. That's over 2/3 of the way to our moon. After TESS separates from Falcon 9 over the next 60 days, the spacecraft will use its onboard thrusters to perform a series of maneuvers, which includes a flyby of the moon in order to slingshot it into its final high Earth science orbit. This orbit is what's going to give TESS an unobstructed view of the night sky, allowing the spacecraft to observe and catalog thousands of exoplanets for future studies by the James Webb Space Telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, and large ground-based observatories.
So we are 5 minutes away from launch. By the way, the white smoke you can see, this is liquid oxygen boiling out.
Internal sequences have started.
And today we also have a landing. And I'm pretty sure they also have a fairing recovery.
All right, we are about 4 minutes and 45 seconds away from liftoff. So let's check in on the rocket one more time before stepping into the terminal count. Fuel is fully loaded on both stages, and liquid oxygen is being topped off right now as we speak. The rocket is also now pressurizing itself with helium gas. We use that gas in order to maintain the structural strength of the rocket while on the ground and in flight. And very soon what you're going to see is those cradle arms that are holding the rocket, they're going to open up, and the transporter erector is going to lean back slightly. It's going to retract. You also might see some venting coming from the side of from the TE. That's totally normal. It's just liquid oxygen that's boiling off, heating up, and being released from the tanks. At T-1 minute, the rocket's internal flight computers are going to take over, which you'll hear on the countdown net as Falcon 9 is in startup. The range is currently looking good for an on-time launch today. The payload is healthy on internal power and is go, and weather is go. We are looking awesome for a 6:51 p.m. T0.
So in the
our launch window today is only 30 seconds long, but that's pretty much an instantaneous window. If for some reason we can't get off today, we'll come back again tomorrow at 7:09 p.m. Eastern time to give it another go. So with that, let's listen in to the last 3.5 minutes of terminal count.
Is that retract angle?
So in the last 3 minutes, a lot of important stuff happens. So oxygen is still being loaded in, and now the rocket, okay, so first they load in the oxygen, then they pressurize the fuel tank and close it off. The rocket also switches to internal power, which means basically it uses, before switching to internal power, it's using electricity from outside the vehicle, and then it cuts power from outside and it starts using batteries. That's also an important step. It basically has to do a ton of stuff in the last 5 minutes or so to get ready for launch, and that's why they are doing. We'll constantly hear call outs, that and that checked, etc.
Stage 2 dump manifold secured.
Did they just announce something about stage 2? I didn't completely understand it. So, there, as you saw in the video, this is Exoplanet detecting satellite, and this is a really small, low-budget mission. So they have to really shave off the price. So to save on fuel, on the satellite's fuel, they're using a gravity assist from the moon to position it into a higher orbit, so it can orbit far from the Earth in an orbit that really won't interrupt it, and so it can scan planets in peace. So now we see the oxygen again venting from the rocket. See it here. And we are only about 1 minute from launch.
Ready for launch.
And they just announced that the rocket is ready for launch.
Falcon 9's in startup.
Ground gas closeout is complete.
And now everything, all the controls that are happening inside the rocket.
Stage 2 pressing for flight.
Now stage 2 is also ready for launch. It says Falcon 9 flight computers have taken control of the countdown. Right now, everything that's being done is being done by the computers on the rocket itself. They have basically cut control from the rocket.
Stage 1 is at startup pressures.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9 is configured for flight.
And we are only 10 seconds
10,
away from launch,
9,
and there goes the
8,
countdown.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
And we have liftoff.
Ground operators proceed to section 575. Flight report to procedure 3170 for post-launch flight operations.
So you can already see how the rocket starts to lean even a kilometer from the launch pad. The Falcon 9 has a relatively high thrust-to-weight ratio, so that is the thrust proportional to the weight of the rocket. It accelerates pretty fast, which means it can start leaning a lot faster
As you
than
just saw,
a lot of rockets.
Falcon 9 has successfully cleared the pad and is now on its ascent with the test spacecraft in its fairing. Now coming up in about 15 minutes, you're going to hear the call out that Falcon 9 will have hit max Q. That stands for maximum aerodynamic pressure. That is the point at which the rocket is seeing its highest stresses on its ascent.
So if you take a look at the flame of the rocket, you can see it slowly becoming bigger and bigger. This is because when they're on the ground, the pressure is pressuring on the flame. But when you...
And what you heard on that call out, we have gotten through max Q. Coming
When-
up next, you're going to hear the call for MVAC
MVAC engine chill has begun.
And that was it.
But when the rocket flame is burning in the vacuum of space, it allows it to expand really rapidly. There's nothing countering it. So the plume freely expands.
Now coming up here shortly, you're going to hear three big events happening in rapid succession. The first is MECO, that stands for main engine cutoff. That is where all 9 of the first stage engines are going to shut down. That's in preparation for the next step, which is stage sep, or stage separation. There's where stage 1 will separate from stage 2. Stage 1 will make its way back down to the drone ship. Stage 2 will continue on with TESS to its orbit. And then you're going to hear second engine start. That is the ignition of the second stage engine. Let's
So-
check it out here.
As you can see, the rocket flame is becoming more and more transparent as we climb in altitude. This is because as the exhaust gases expand, they cool a lot. And when they cool, they stop glowing. And we have stage separation and second stage ignition.
Stage 1 is out of its foot.
And you could saw in the first stage the flame of the second
And
stage.
as you just saw, we had a successful stage separation and a successful ignition of that second stage engine.
So now the first stage turned 180 degrees around and is doing a burn that will send it on a trajectory back
Fairing
to
should
the
be
launch
going
pad.
any moment. There we go.
You go fairing
And you can
separation.
see that tiny but strong test spacecraft inside of that. We're on top of stage 2. Now stage 1 is making its way back down to Earth. What we're going to see coming up pretty shortly is a boost back burn.
So now the grid fins deployed. The grid fins are used mostly to
Grid fins have deployed.
guide the spacecraft.
Both stages following nominal
They kind of work like wings. Small wings. They don't really allow it to fly, more like control gliding, which helps it a lot, guiding it once it's inside the atmosphere. Right now it's still
Right
in pretty
now,
much complete
stage
vacuum.
2 is going to continue to burn until T plus 8 minutes and 20 seconds, while stage 1 makes its way back down to Earth. Now, there are 2 more burns coming up for stage 1. The next one's going to be the entry burn. That's where we're going to reignite 3 of the stage 1 engines. And that burn is intended to slow down stage 1's descent as it makes its way through that thick upper atmosphere.
So right now the first stage is traveling at a speed of
We'll be seeing that at
close to 2 kilometers per second. If it enters the atmosphere at this velocity, it will simply burn up. So in a few seconds, they're going to start a burn that will slow the first stage down, and re-entering with a lower velocity will allow it to survive. And you can see the second stage still burning in the red hot nozzle. And if you watch the velocity, it will every time it will accelerate faster because the second stage is getting lighter as it burns fuel. And the last few seconds of burn will give it almost as much velocity as the first 10% of the burn. It's crazy how fast it accelerates when it's empty.
Okay, stage 2 is going to continue to burn for about another 3 minutes and 1 minute until we see that re-entry burn. Now after that re-entry burn, stage 1 is going to continue on making its way down to the drone ship, and coming up thereafter will be the landing burn. That'll be the third of the 3 burns, and at that point we're going to reignite that center engine, E9, and that'll bring us down to 0 velocity, hopefully standing up tall on the drone ship. Continuing to hear that impact D is looking good. Turbopump performance is good. Everything is performing nominally on stage 2, which is great news.
So I think the re-entry burn is gonna start in a few seconds. That will slow the first stage down, allowing it for a safe re-entry.
Stage 2 continues to follow a nominal.
As you can see, that burn has begun, that entry burn. This burn is going to go for about another 10 seconds or so before it shuts down. And the entry burn is complete.
So that entry burn is complete, and it might seem like a short burn, but because the stage is almost empty, it's really light. So even a small burn slows it down a ton.
We are getting TESS into a nice circular orbit, where TESS will then, well, stage 2 with TESS on top will coast for about 35 minutes.
So the second stage is now almost at 2/3 of the orbital velocity of. It needs to reach 28,000 kilometers per hour in order to be in orbit. Then it will coast in orbit, and it will wait for the right transfer window and then transfer to an encounter with the moon.
We're about 10 seconds away from that landing burn. Note that the drone ship is situated approximately 300 kilometers off the coast of Florida, and as you can see, that landing burn has started.
If you watch closely, you can see the rocket isn't aimed directly at the launch pad. If the landing burn missed, it would have crashed into the ocean next to the drone ship, not on top of it, which is a safety measure. And there we go.
And as you can hear from the applause and the video right there on your screen, the first stage has successfully landed on Of Course I Still Love You. This marks the 24th successful landing of a Falcon 9 first stage.
So, nice to see another successful landing.
And meanwhile, we've reached SECO, which is second engine cutoff. Stage 2 has shut down its first burn.
I'm just going to skip back for a second.
And the video right there on your screen.
And
the first stage has successfully landed on a port.
So here you can see the first stage start venting out the pressure. Both tanks are pressurized, and as soon as it lands, it starts lowering that pressure so they can recover it later.
That gets us into TESS's highly elliptical orbit, where we will then deploy the spacecraft. So we're going to continue showing you some live views of space and of TESS and of stage 2. And we'll be back to commentate the webcast at T plus 42 minutes.
So I think I will pause the streaming until we do the second stage insertion. So, see you later.
Lost the signal at Cape Canaveral as expected.
So I have actually decided to come back and answer some questions while we wait for it. Just give me a second to set up, and I can maybe also show some new things that I have done. This is my program that I use to develop the game. It's called Unity. So I will maybe show a few things and then I will answer questions. So what is new is I'm working on an entire new resource system. Yeah, actually let me just start answering questions. Pointman asks, do rockets already reduce waste as they lose fuel? Yes, they do. You can see. Just try it. Try an empty rocket and a full one, and you will see how differently they accelerate. Will there be re-entries in the next update? Not yet in the next update. I need update date. I can't really give you an update date because there isn't one yet. Actually, Birdie has mostly done a lot of progress on the sharing system, so I think I can show that. If it's working. I hope it is working right now. The server could be down. I don't know. Will there be smoke added when a rocket takes off? I might add some kind of smoke. It can become laggy really quick, but I might. Well, this is interesting. Okay, so this is the new sharing script. Oh, this is the new sharing system. You can search rockets by different categories. This is the top rocket. You can also search by my posts or by new. And you can also change pages. There's up to 100 pages. And we restart. when do you think you will add station modules? I think this will be in the update after the one that's coming. I will add astronauts and station modules and stuff like that. I think we'll more focused on space station building. Steph, will you add Merlin engines? I mean, I could, I guess. I'm not sure. I mean, this one is kind of similar to the... Well, this is more of a F1 engine. And actually, once more, show the... Why is this? Oh, this is broken for some reason. Just work in progress, you know? Stuff breaks constantly. Add solar sails. So solar sails would be really, really weak. That means they will be pretty useless. Will you add more planets or even a 2D solar system? Or a second solar system, not 2D. Well, yeah, more planets are definitely coming, but not that soon. I have a lot of other work to do before I add more new planets. Okay. I just use this. For some reason, the pick list is broken. I have been reorganizing things and half of it is missing. Can you add bigger build space and bigger launch pad? Yeah, I will probably make the launch pad bigger, because right now with the bigger rockets, it's necessary. I hope the engines will work. Yes, they do. And here you can see the effects. Will the engines turn transparent in space? I don't really think it's necessary. I might add those special effects in the future, but for now, I think it's okay. I have a problem with a bug that doesn't allow me to play it freezes. I know there's a freezing bug, but right now I'm still not sure why it happens. I'm really trying to fix it. Like, I'm really trying. It's really a hard bug to find. I have been emailing around with people who have it. I have been talking to people. It's a nightmare. Will there be a career mode with research points and money? Yes, there will be. Absolutely. And randomly generated missions and everything. I think they will be really interesting. Make an atmosphere. I don't know. I think this looks quite a lot like an atmosphere, if you ask me. I mean, and there already is drag. If we'll build something new and yeah. Can you add water on Earth? Yes, it's planned, but probably not in the next update. Will there be different capsules? Yes, there will be. by the way, if you give me a second, I think I can show something new as well. Where is it? Buttons, menu button, category 3. Okay, here you go. 1 second. Tick list. Here it is. Utility. Lists power. Here it is. So we have quite a lot of new parts, batteries in different sizes. There will also be a tiny battery, solar panels of different sizes. Let me show them, just all of them at once. Okay, I guess this will have to. Launch and hope nothing is broken, because that's how development is. There's always something broken. Oh, by the way, you can see the battery, the solar panel slowly charge this battery. Yes, these are the new solar panels. Will there be a staging system? Yes, there will be. Maybe even in the next update, not sure yet. Is there gonna be a DLC you have to buy in the next update? Because I will totally buy it. No, there won't be any new DLC yet. Don't worry. Look, right now I'm adding only new parts, and if you remember, we have this. Oh, I need to exit, not resume. Remember, the expansion includes all future parts that will ever be added, so next time there's only really new parts, and that's included, so nothing new to purchase. Will this be on the Android update? Yes, of course. When I try to put out an update, I'd put it on all systems at once. iOS is delayed by about a day because they go manually through the process of checking the game. And yeah, that's why it takes a bit longer. Wait a minute, this isn't the launch. Okay, so the launch right now is just in progress. We are waiting for the coast time, and once that will be over, I will continue with the launch. Meanwhile, I'm answering questions. Could you add bigger landing legs? Yes, they're planned. On PC, yes, I'm on PC because this is the program I used to develop it. I can have access to everything, how it works, all the values behind it. I can edit it right now, like live, just change textures to this. This is, for example, composed of multiple smaller segments and textures and so on. What do batteries do? The batteries just store electric power, nothing else, and then that electric power can be used to power ion engines or wheels and so on. Will you make the Earth more detailed when you're in the map? So the map is really meant to be easily understood. It's meant to give you information, not look pretty. That's the idea. Just clearly readable information, no bells and whistles to distract you. What if you already have the expansion? Do you have to buy it again? Oh no, of course not. It's just one time. You should make it so that when you build something you can select it and then move it as a whole. So I plan to do that, but it's really not easy because of the nature of touch. With a touchscreen you only can... Okay, so the click already moves it. The click already takes parts. It's really hard on the computer have a right click or something. On phone I will have to improvise. Can you make the build limit a lot bigger? So right now it's a bit limited because there's nothing to challenge you, there isn't a career mode, so a good limit is to basically restrict the build zone. It's bigger in... this is... okay, so on the computer I can really easily toggle the... if I have the expansion or no, with just a button. So this is without the expansion, the build space, and if you have the expansion, this is the build space. How many people on your team? Okay, so I have been working on this game alone for a year and a half, and about a week and a half ago I got 2 members on my team, which are Jordi and Mike. Why did the white arrow that shows direction disappear in the last update? It's just a bug, that's it. In what time do you think the next update could be? Might be next weekend. No promises, please. Don't take it as an official date. Steph, can you do a face reveal? Maybe later. Right now I don't have a camera on this computer. Are you going to release this on PC? Yes, it's planned to be on Steam. The other day I ordered the Switch, so I will try to get it on the Switch and then on the rest of the consoles. Hey Steve, listen, add other systems on board because I landed on all planets. Yes, all the outer planets are planned, so that's Jupiter and 4 of Jupiter's moons. Then you have Saturn and probably 4 of Saturn's moons, which are also pretty interesting. And then you have Uranus and Neptune. And I might also add Pluto and some Kuiper Belt objects. So that's like 15 new planets to land on. It'll be a lot of content, don't worry. I might add drone propellers, which I think would be pretty nice. Especially for somewhere like Titan, you will just able to fly around, or Mars, and so on. Can you add an escape tower for the capsules? Maybe. Hello, will there be any way to share the saved worlds? I think it might be possible, yes. Actually, since I am already working on this sharing system, I think I could also enable sharing worlds with this one. Will it be free on Steam? No. Will the new plans be part of the DLC? Yes. Part of a DLC, yes. So the Steam version will cost by default, but it will have all DLCs ever included by default in it. Can you add mod sports? There already is mod. You can already mod. If you go on our Discord server, there already is a modding section. Look. Mod downloads. There already are plenty of mods that you can download. It just isn't official yet. I will make an official mod downloading site for Android, where I will basically go through every mod, check it myself manually, check it if it's safe, and then upload it. So anything you can download there will be completely official and safe. Please give date. Look, I'm really sorry I can't give a date. Look, normally when a big company, game company gives a date, they already have the game finished. That's when they give dates. On the other hand, I publish it as soon as it's finished. So that's why I can't give a date. I never know when it will be done. Can you change the keyboard that is used in game to the phone's one? I tried, it's bugged, that's why we have. I can't open it for some reason, I have no idea why. Will you add flags? Yes, astronauts will be able to plant flags. Can you make slanted nose cones for large parts? Yes, I think I will. I think I also might make parts of different sizes. Like this adapter with multiple sizes. I think something like this could be pretty nice. Autopilot. So the reason I don't want to add autopilot is because I want players to actually understand how space travel works. If you have something doing it for you, you're not really learning how to play the game, and that's not the point of the game. Will you make the game realistic? Well, I think it already is. Can you add one more part every week so it doesn't get boring? Maybe I could make something like a schedule that adds a new part every week. I'm not sure. But then I might be forced to add parts. That's a problem. Then I'm forced to constantly add parts, which could be bad. Do you plan to add better fairing management? Yes, I plan to add better fairings. Maybe something like a procedural fairing or something. I'm not sure yet. I will definitely make it more detailed. What will happen when you enter a gas giant planet atmosphere? So what will happen is you just fall through it. A gas giant will be pure gas, through and through. You just fall into it and keep falling and keep falling. Slower and slower because the atmosphere gets more dense. What about realistic orbital mechanics? Well, they are there. I mean, you don't have any branch points and stuff like that. But will we have to buy expansion again? No, why would you have to buy it again? I really don't understand. But you already own it. I just joined as well with the update drop. I don't have a date yet, but maybe in less than 10 days. No idea. You plan on adding Jupiter? Yes, I plan to add all the outer planets. Can you make it possible for your rocket to still blast even though you're not controlling it? I mean, yes, an uncontrolled booster will keep flying right now. I can prove it right now. You just take a capsule, take a few fuel tanks, and let's see. The only thing I will have to do is use this separator because the other one is bugged. Let's see. Take off. And you see the other booster keeps flying even though nothing controls it. I think you can... Switching to it cuts it off. Yes, this does. Okay, this is something that I might fix. I see. The other one keeps flying because it has to control. Oh, I see switching rockets turns them off. That is weird. Okay, that has to be fixed. Sup, I love this game. Thanks. Right now I'm playing the game and watching it. Nice. Careful to not crash. Will Plume get bigger in space? Please answer. Maybe. For now, I think it's fine, but maybe in the future I will do it. Depends. If I have spare time, it's something that I think would look nice, why not? I mean, it would depends if it will look really nice. Will you add things like weather, oceans, and more propulsion options? Well, I mean, we are already adding the ion engines data update. Let me pull them out. Where are they? Oh, I know what the problem is. I need to just change something quickly. Power. There we go. Wait, where are they? Okay, just let me fix this. Need to add ion engine. Now I reload it and it should be here. There we have it. Ion engine. A low thrust engine with an incredibly high efficiency. It requires both liquid fuel and electricity. And it needs batteries, and it needs, of course, fuel. By the way, you don't need to even have it connected. You can... Oh. Forget it. I will just place it directly on. Okay, they don't have to be connected to a fuel tank to work, so I can just do this. Let's add solar panels. Oh, their collision box is broken, that's why they're in the ground. So let's... Okay, I can also show this. Gravity off. These are all the new options. I might add even more. I think people really like them. So I turned gravity off. And now I can actually fly with them. I will also turn the atmosphere off. We can actually see them up close. So these are the new ion engines. Will re-entry and re-entry parts be added this update? It won't be yet this update, but it should be pretty soon. How long is the SpaceX stream gonna take? Oh, it's getting close. We have about 5 to 10 minutes more, so I would say ask your question quick because it's gonna end soon. Do the solar panels power charge the batteries and ion engines? Yes. Solar panels just generate electricity, then you can store that electricity in batteries if you want, or you can run it directly even without batteries. Doesn't matter. As long as you have power, ion engines can run. How will astronauts work? Well, you just exit the capsule and then walk around, or if you are in space, you just use your little thrusters to maneuver around and so on. How did you learn to code? I learned to code myself. When I was 11, I was basically playing online games and was like, oh, all the games are so shit. I bet I can make a better one. And I started to learn to code. And yeah. So SpaceX just said that they acquired Signal. because I think they lose it in parts of Africa because there isn't any communication towers to receive signal, and they got it back. How easy is it to add a part? I mean, making a part in this design, okay, so adding it is really easy. It's just a few clicks, but the problem is I have to design it, I have to think of its purpose, I have to draw it, and so on. You can control the astronauts, right? I want to make a spacewalk so bad. Yes, of course, you will be able to control them, walk around, fly around, grab onto modules and then enter them and so on. Will the astronauts grab stuff? I guess. I mean, they will be able to plant flags at least. Can you add heat shields? Yes, I will. Can you add a Tesla roaster somewhere as an Easter egg? How much fuel will the astronauts carry when they're added? I don't know. I think they will carry enough to walk around for some time and then go back. By the way, the astronauts will replenish their fuel from fuel tanks. So you won't have infinite RCS. Steph, can you sometimes stream when you make parts? I actually already did some private streams making parts. Will you eventually add multiple engines under one fuel source? I mean, you can already do that. Right now, these two engines are taking fuel from one source. You can already do this as well. This will work perfectly fine. Oh, and in the next update, because I'm reworking the fuel, you will also be able to do this, which is one engine takes fuel from multiple parts at once. That will work. Where did you get your background music from? It's from the SpaceX launch.
We are coming upon the end of our 35-minute.
Okay, so now I have to stop the QA because we are back to the SpaceX launch.
Has begun, and pretty soon the second stage will be reigniting to take TESS to its deployment orbit.
I think they are chilling the engine, so that causes a lot of random droplets to go around of steam and ice and so on.
The burn is going to last for about 1 minute before the engine shuts down again, and a few minutes after that, the TESS spacecraft will deploy.
So, this was... Okay, so for everyone that just joined, this was originally a live stream for the SpaceX launch, but then while we were waiting for the transfer window, I started the Q&A.
Reignited the second stage. And this burn's going to last for about a minute.
So the spacecraft was from previously was already in orbit, and now they are transferring it to the moon to perform a gravity assist to position it into its final orbit.
To get it to that point where it can perform its lunar flyby.
And this is a satellite for imaging exoplanets, which is pretty interesting. It's a really small spacecraft. From what I remember, it weighs 317 kilograms, which is really small by satellite standards.
And the engine has shut down.
Have that cut off.
Let's see if they got the correct orbit.
So for about 5 minutes, the stage is going to coast with TESS on top, at which point the payload is going to deploy. Now, the way that that works is there is what is referred to as a payload adapter that is sitting on the top of our second stage, and TESS is attached to that. It's attached via a clamp band, which is basically like a banded spring. We'll send a separation signal to Falcon 9, which will then open up that clamp band, and there will be 4 springs inside of that payload adapter, 4 compression springs that will give TESS a little gentle push to push it away from stage 2. And after a while, a few minutes after that, TESS is going to turn on its transmitters, on its receivers, deploy its solar arrays, and begin its mission. So let's watch these live views for the next 4 minutes or so, and we'll come back for a live view of payload deploy.
So I think before they deploy the satellite, we still have 5 minutes more for answering questions. Did he say if the astronauts are in this update or the upcoming one? They're not in this update. I'm not sure yet when they're gonna come, but they should be out pretty soon. Will you add an animation for astronauts coming out of the capsule? I will try, but it's not an easy animation to do. They have to lean out, turn around, so on. It's not easy to do. What made you start Spaceflight Simulator, and did you expect it to be so huge? The project originally started as an application to the developers of Kerbal Space Program. I wanted to join their team, but they're located in somewhere, I think in South America. I'm not sure yet. I'm not completely sure where they are located, but I basically got no response because I'm from Europe. And then I just kept developing it, and it turned into this. Can you name your astronauts? Yes, of course. You might even be able to customize them and everything. Will a solid rocket booster be added? Yes, they are planned. I might even make a live stream adding them. Why not?
As expected.
Can you add a fuel tank that's smaller than the basic one? Maybe, I will. Actually, I think really tiny round fuel tanks, round golden fuel tanks, and tiny engines and stuff like that could be really awesome. Will you add symmetry building options? I should. I think it could be pretty awesome. I'm late. Well, you can always rewatch it later. Will you add consequences for crashing rockets? Yes, in career mode, I think you might get punishments or something. Will you add asteroids to land on? I mean, you already have Phobos and Deimos to land on, but I guess I could add.
Welcome back,
I
everybody.
think
We
the
are now
SpaceX
in
launch
our
is
first
back.
Spacecraft deploy. That'll happen in about a minute. This is where we're going to separate the TESS spacecraft from Falcon 9, and TESS is going to go on about its own journey, where it's going to be using its own onboard propulsion systems to raise its altitude and get it into its mission orbit. We'll be getting acquisition of signal as we pass over a ground station here shortly, and ideally we'll be able to see
Acquisition of
this
signal,
live
Western Australia.
on the screen. And there we go.
So, let's see the deployment in about a minute or so.
In just under a minute here, we'll be seeing the spacecraft separate from Falcon 9.
I'm not sure if it's venting oxygen or is this adjustment maneuver. It might be adjustment maneuver, but I doubt it. You can also see, oh, just disappeared. Here you can, let me wait a second for it to appear. You can see just here chunks of ice and stuff that builds up because of the venting.
And it's going on its beautiful
And
mission
we
to
just saw
look at
deployment.
thousands of planets outside of our solar system. And with that brings us to an end of our webcast. As Falcon 9's job is done for today. So this was a pretty successful mission, right? We had a successful stage 1 ascent and landing. Stage 2 has properly deployed to test spacecraft into its intended orbit, and TESS is now on its way, and hopefully we'll hear soon about the health of the payload. I want to give a big thank you to the NASA Launch Services Program for their faith in us, to Goddard Space Flight Center, to MIT, and to the 45th Space Wing for their range support for today's mission. You can follow SpaceX on social media via our Twitter feed as well as our Instagram. You can also check us out on SpaceX.com. And if you want to learn more about the TESS mission, visit nasa.gov. Thank you all so much for joining today, and we'll catch you at the next launch.
So it's really nice to see another successful SpaceX mission. Yeah. I think I'm probably gonna answer questions for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna end the live stream. Can you make a thing where you're allowed to download real rockets? Well, we have rocket sharing, and I think people will upload a ton of rockets because it's really easy to do so, and you will probably be able to download them. Let me show you just how easy it is to upload a rocket. All you have to do is just place the parts you want, click upload, enter the rocket title, enter the category, and that's it. You just uploaded a rocket. Can astronauts die? Yes, they will be able to die. I understood so much more from this launch than the previous because of your game. Yeah, I really love when people actually start understanding the physics of space, how stuff works. It really puts a different view on the world. How are you playing on PC? Well, I'm developing it on PC. This is the program where I develop the game. What will happen when you make it to the center of a gas planet? I mean, I think falling to the center of a gas giant will take months, so I don't see anyone doing it. Will antennas be added? Yes, I will. Will there be a separate website to download builds? No, it will be all in-game. Look, it's actually working already. You see it? This is in-game. You have pages, you have a new category, top category. This isn't working yet. My posts. Oh, this isn't working either, apparently. Okay. So yeah. Can you please add a checkered fuel source? I'm guessing you mean fuel tanks that look like the Saturn V, which I think will be added. Will you be able to search for users' rocket shoe? Yeah, you should be able to. You will be also able to search by category. So for example, there will be a category for rockets that are meant to be funny and not like really real rockets, and so on. Can you add more fairings? I think I will just make them procedural. Do you have Instagram? No, I don't have an Instagram. I do have a Twitter. Let me check my Twitter. This is my Twitter. I don't use it at all though. I really prefer Reddit or Discord. I spend most of my time just on Discord. We already have almost 5,000 members, which is really nice. And a lot of people share builds and so on. Let me show. Rocket designs. Junior desk. The people are really active in Discord. It's crazy. You have a link in the description to join it. Oh, someone made a rail to transport with the rovers. People are crazy with their ideas. And then we have Reddit as well, where people also post a ton of different content. So many creative people. Could you add paint change for stuff? Yes, I might add. I have been testing it the other day and it should work pretty well. Please, how to play, I'm a noob. There are quite a few tutorials on my channel. Just check them out. You should be able to learn. I recommend the new moon tutorial. That's probably where it's best to start. For the nose compute fuel, well, I added fuel to this part. This part now contains fuel. I might add it to this one as well. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. My favorite rocket. I mean, I would have to say the BFR, but that isn't launching yet. I love everything about it. You use C# or JavaScript? I use C#. And PHP is for the rocket sharing system. Will you add re-entry? Yes, I will add re-entry. Will there be time warp while you use your ion engines? Not for now. I might make it so there is physics time warp for ion engines, but I'm not sure yet. Can you transfer fuel through docking ports? Yes, that's coming in the next update. You can transfer fuel. I think I'm gonna end the stream in like 5 minutes, so last questions. Not sure if allowed, but will you add air resistance when time warping with different rockets? So drag is disabled while in time warp, because when you're in time warp, your rocket is basically on a completely predicted path. But drag would change that path, so I have to disable it. It just wouldn't work. Will you add a Apollo capsule lunar module? Yes, I will. Can you add a custom texture creator? Maybe, but in the far future. I think modding will solve most of that. Where could water, because you can time warp before launch to get the right conditions. I mean, what would then the point of weather be? Just annoy you? Basically have to time warp with a certain chance. I don't really see being useful. Will painting be added? Maybe not 100%. I would say probably. Will there be career mode? Yes, there will be career mode. Are you the owner of Spaceflight Simulator? Yes, this is my game. Do you have a Patreon? No, I don't have a Patreon. I don't have it up. I don't have donations allowed on YouTube either right now. I don't know why. So if you want to support me, just get the expansion. Will you add a label feature? Yes, I will. I think just clicking on it will... I think you will be able to name your rockets. I think that's the best way to do it. Will there be a mod loader? I mean, people have already done mods. If you go into the Discord and into mod downloads, people have already done an absolute ton of mods. Well, ton, I don't know. There are probably 20 mods or so by now. So yeah, but there will be some official mod loader in the future. Look, people have done skins and everything. It's pretty amazing. There's a wooden wheel. Oh god. What will the money you get with this expansion be used to? I will probably invest it into the next game. I also hired a few people now. Oh, I'm trying to get a pretty famous music composer to compose for this game as well. So that's what I will probably use it for. Do mods work on mobile? They work on Android for now. On iOS it's a lot more complicated because you can't access the files. Can there be small probes for smaller satellites? Maybe. How will the rings of Saturn work? So I think what I will do is just that they will break fragile parts if you fly through them. And they will slightly bump you around. Do you have a YouTube channel? I mean, you're on it right now. When is this update coming out? No date yet, but it might be in less than 10 days. How do you get mods on Android? Go into the Discord server and there's a mod downloads section. Will you implement mods into the base game? I mean, I take ideas from mods and use them. I don't know if that counts. Will you add solid rocket boosters? Yes, of course. What could happen when you land on Jupiter and Saturn? You won't land, you will just sink into it. It's a gaseous planet. You will just fall through it, through the atmosphere. Do you plan to take this game as far as KSP or just keep it like this? I mean, I will keep adding stuff until I feel the game is complete. Since Jupiter is just gas, which of the moons do you think you will add? I think I will add the main 4 Galilean moons, and for Saturn I will probably add Titan and Celadus and a few more. Just the interesting or cool moons, basically. Could you implement part layering so we can make Soyuz style creations? I mean, I don't see really a point. I think, let me show something. I think you could make in the future, if I do add this, just give me a second. If part stretching is implemented, to do something like this for the Soyuz, which I think could look okay. When you fall into Saturn for a while, will it say landed on Saturn? No, I don't know what the message would be. Maybe I can add something funny like took a swim into the oceans of liquid hydrogen or something. How long do you think the game can be developed? Well, I will work on it until I feel like it, or until I feel it's finished, and then I will move on to other games. I want to do more games. I want to do, like, now that I have revenue, I can actually make bigger games and everything. I want to make games that are 3D. I want to make games with realistic graphics. My future games will definitely be focused on space, but maybe not on rockets. Good night, Steph. 5 minutes, it's up. Yes, I should probably finish it. What games will you make? I can't really spoil it because I prefer to keep it a secret. I don't want to give ideas away. You will see it once the game is done, which I'm not working on. Can you ever have a game company? Sort of. Yes, I'm in the process of making a company right now. I'm actually just in a few days flying to open it. Anyway, I think I'm gonna finish the stream here. So yes. I love how the zoom buttons disappear when you zoom around. I mean, move the part and then they appear back. Okay, so see you in the next stream. Bye.